You know, a wise man once said that patience is a virtue. Now, I don't actually know much about that, but what I do know is that when I found out that I was going to be a dad, nobody ever prepared me for how much patience is actually required for that role. Have you ever had 10 kids running around at a birthday party before? Terrible. Patience is standing in line for a coffee behind the person counting out pennies one at a time, one slow coin across the counter at a time. I believe that's something that everybody is facing in one way, shape, or form because of the world that we live in. Everything has to go fast. Everything has to be instant. We need something immediately, and nobody's got any time to wait, especially no time to spend doing literally anything except for that one thing that they intended on getting done that day. And so that kind of got us talking about the concept of patience and truly how it plays into all aspects of our life. But I mean, we were specifically talking about building streams and YouTube videos and things like that, right? And so that kind of got me thinking, like, you know what? That is true. I at first, when somebody had brought the concept up, I had said, you know what? Like, I don't really think I've got a whole lot to talk about on patience. I'm somebody who tends to lose their minds, let's say, a little bit more often than your average Joe. The problem, though, I guess, and what I didn't really think about, was that I'm put into these positions because of all the different things that are going on in my life. And I'm just as guilty as the next person as needing to get things done fast, quick, get it out there, making videos for YouTube and have to get them out. We need to put this video out, otherwise we're going to have problems. We're going to start losing viewers. We don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then that inside voice kind of takes over and it runs the show for you. And that's one of the biggest kind of culprits to some of the times in my life when I'm not exactly feeling the best. When someone had suggested that during the stream, I had said, you know what? Maybe I'm not the most qualified person to speak about it, but this is a good opportunity to accept the fact that while I'm not the ideal candidate for speaking about that, I am somebody who deals with it on a regular basis and could use an opportunity to do better as well. And so that's ultimately why I decided to fire this video up and give a shot at trying to say something positive about the subject at hand, right? Let's go. Big bubbles. As I was kind of saying before, the idea with this instant gratification world is that we're immediately subjected to, you need to go fast, you need to get things done, and there's no time to wait. We gotta go, 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 go. And that kind of tends to play into all aspects. I mean, especially for me as somebody that does video creation on both YouTube and on Twitch, that plays into me because it's always thinking about the next thing. What's something that the community would like? What's something that I'm going to enjoy as well? Just about got fired there. It's constantly top of mind, right? That's one of the biggest things, is that I always have to make sure that I'm trying to stay one step ahead of myself. And that's not a good way to go. That's actually a really bad way to go, because all of a sudden I'm going to run out of steam one of these days. It's going to be a rude awakening where I'm not able to keep up with what it is that I'm attempting to keep up with. While I've accepted it, while I've kind of made my peace with that, I know in that moment I'm going to feel like I've absolutely failed. And that is basically the reason why I wanted to talk about this, right? That is kind of my MO. I have this tendency to think that because I'm not doing what I think I need to be doing, all of a sudden I'm in deep doo-doo. You know what I mean? That I'm not as good as I would have been had I done what I said I was going to do. It's trained into me, like I said, as a parent, right? Because you can see an immediate reaction for not having patience. Unlike other areas, right? If you lose it on the guy in line for a coffee, you'll make that guy's day not happy, but you're not going to see him again, likely. The not having patience with your kids is an immediate, like, visceral reaction. It's a terrible feeling. And I mean, and the same thing, if for those that aren't parents, you know, your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, your family members, your friends, etc. It's all the same idea in that regard. Not having that patience is a primary culprit of making them feel in a certain way, a bad way. And that is kind of the catch, is that we don't want to put ourselves into a position where we are constantly ragging on somebody to get things done. But in the same token too, since we live in a world that requires it, we do have to get that stuff done. There is no waiting. There is, in some cases, being patient is a luxury. In some cases, there is no opportunity to be patient about something. It's, I gotta get this done now. To balance that out is a tall order. We're playing Bubble Bobble, by the way. Great game. Where am I going with this? What I was saying about I see this in my life is not only from like a parental point of view, but I also see this in my life from the concept of, you know, video creation and streaming. From writing D&D content, there has been countless times where I have had to take, and I mentioned this in the video I called "You Need to Take a Break." I'll put a thing up in the top corner there, if you haven't seen it yet. But I was talking about the importance of taking a break, and I had said in that video that there was a point in time when I was creating this D&D content that I needed to step away for a period of time because I had this writer's block and things weren't coming together for me. And there was this point in time where all of a sudden I had to take a week-long break. It wasn't a bad thing. It's just I had severe writer's block, and the ideas weren't coming to me as easy as they typically do. What ended up happening is that I took that week-long break. Boom, I had these ideas. My brain kind of cleared out and I was able to start thinking about like, okay, what if we did this? What if we did this? And all of a sudden the ideas started flowing again. And so I started thinking about like having patience in that, right? Because the little voice inside my head at that time is going, you better make this stuff. You better get this content created. Otherwise your game's gonna end. We needed to make this content. We had to get this going. And so the whole time my brain is going against me, right? And it started getting me to think about how our brains are our biggest enemies, basically, right? It's funny how like the human mind works in that it's attempting to motivate you by making you feel like absolute garbage. It's basically putting you into like almost like a fight or flight mode, trying to trick you into working harder. But the problem is that there's the two sides of your brain, the creative side and then the calculating side of things. They both have different ideas at the exact same time. And that's the biggest problem, is that all of a sudden now I've got these conflicting ideas going against each other. And while one side is saying, we got to hurry, we got to get this done, the other side is saying, hey, I need a break. You got to cut me some slack here, man. I can't get that stuff done the way that you need me to get it done in. That got me to thinking about like, you know, in the concept of like having patience and dealing with things, how our brains are basically our enemy in this case, because they're trying to do what's best for us and we're not making any headway with it. Headway. The biggest thing is that I think we can all kind of do the basics, right? You know what I mean? You can walk away from things. That's what I did when I needed to take a break. Step in and take account of your situation. Accept the fact that, you know what, I need to apply a little bit more patience to this. But usually I find, at least myself, that those moments come well after when they should have. The damage has already been done, let's say. That ends up being kind of my biggest flaw, is that all of a sudden now, instead of thinking about it rationally and dealing with it, I flew off the handle and boom, here we are. And now I'm like, maybe should have applied a little bit more tact to that situation. One of the biggest ways that I find that works for me, and you're gonna come up with your own methods. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, but something that helps for me is that I have a tendency to go to my happy place. And what that means is I kind of check out, like my brain turns the blinds on, the shutters go down. I just don't exist for a little while. And it's not like a long period of time. It's not like a medical problem. But what I mean is that it's a situation where I don't need to be involved here, and that my involvement may actively do something bad to this situation. To go so far as to be like, you know what, maybe we should take a bit of a break here, and we should just let off the gas pedal for a moment so that we can deal with this a little bit more logically and a little less emotionally. And it's funny, it works to a degree. I mean, you still have to deal with your problems after. They're not going to go away. They're not going to go away just because you disappeared for a moment. But in that moment, it just gives you, it just brain reboot moment. And that's kind of the thing that I find that it helps me out with, basically. It's important to maintain that patience with your friends and your family and the people who matter to you the most. They're the ones that need it. Everybody's going to have a bad day, and I don't think that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think what I'm more getting at is that it's important to acknowledge that we are not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that it's okay if you do make that mistake, as long as you're willing to learn something from it at the end of the day. That's kind of the big message that I kind of had in mind as far as it goes. I know that really didn't say a whole heck of a lot, but I mean, sometimes you just need to hear the words, right? I especially I find that for myself is it's Sometimes it's just important to hear that out loud. Sometimes it's important to say it out loud. And I guess maybe that's kind of the true purpose of these videos, is the idea of pushing those boundaries, accepting the fact that we can do better with ourselves, and grinding out bubble bobble nonstop to try and make it happen. That's the advice of the day, is don't be hard on yourself. I think it's important that we all acknowledge that we can all use a little bit of help. And the easiest way you can get that is just keep pushing on, my friend. Keep on pushing on. If you like this content and you like videos like this, there are more on the page. They'll flash up on the screen for you. Feel free to click on one of those. If you haven't already done so, I would absolutely appreciate and love you forever if you clicked on that subscribe button. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. What are some of the areas that hit you the hardest when it comes to patience? I'll put a comment down in there. You can tag in on that if you want to, but I just appreciate you here hanging out with me. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video, okay? Maybe I'll get past level 9 by then. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.